Am I the asshole for not letting a girl check my phone to make sure I wasn't taking pictures of her? I'm at the gym today and I'm walking towards an empty squat rack. Right in front of me is another girl doing squats. While walking up, I briefly noticed that her leggings are see-through, and when she bends down in her squats, you can easily tell she's not wearing underwear. That's not my business, that's her choice, but it made me uncomfortable to take a rack that was kind of behind her. I had been waiting my entire gym session for one of these racks to open up, and this was my last lift before leaving, so I went ahead and took it. I went through my workout as normal. After every set, I check my phone for 5 to 20 seconds. I track every single set for every single lift in a spreadsheet to note how much I lifted and for how many reps. Sometimes I need to remind myself what I did last week to make sure I'm progressing. Sometimes I'm checking the time or changing a song on Spotify. Tonight specifically, there was a very important basketball game being played, so I wanted to keep up with the score, so I used my phone a lot at the gym. I finished up my third set when the girl turns around, walks up to me with her phone up yelling, "What the F are you doing? Effing perv, stop taking pictures of me." I'm caught completely off guard, but I explained that I'm just taking notes on what I'm lifting and that I'm not paying attention to her at all. She's being extra loud so other people are looking at me, plus she's recording me, and she demands I go through my pics and videos to show her what I was recording and I delete the ones I took of her. I tried to again explain I didn't record anything of her at all. She's yelling that if I have nothing to hide, I should have no problem showing her, so I insist on going to the gym management. Once at the front, we both explain our stories. The normal gym attendee asks me if I'm willing to show her, a neutral third party, my phone. She also says if I have nothing to hide, it's not a big deal and we can squash it right now. I refuse. I have my own uncensored pics in there plus those of my girlfriend. I'm not going to let anyone force me to show them for some BS. I do show her my spreadsheet, which shows it's been revised over 15 times in the past 50 minutes, so that proves what I was using my phone for. That was received well, but they still expected me to prove my innocence. I told them they needed to review the cameras. Apparently, only the manager has access to them, so I was told he'd call me before the end of the night. My girlfriend tells me I should have just let them go through my phone because she doesn't mind, and it would have cleared this all up. But I do mind. I get that someone wouldn't want someone taking pics of them, but violating my privacy to prove I wasn't taking pics of you crosses a line for me. Later that night, the manager called. He checked the footage. He couldn't see what was on my screen, but he said it looked like I had my phone pointed towards the ground right in front of me the whole time. In his opinion, it wasn't high enough to even take a picture of her and never angled it in her direction. Apparently, I was gonna get banned from the gym if the cameras didn't absolve me. And also, I'm not the first person that has been accused before by this girl, but she legit had a creeper before, so I kinda understand where she was coming from.
Embarrassing story time about how I was catfished for 3 years. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. I'm a super shy person. I have such a hard time talking to guys. So one day my friend suggested I do online dating. So I went home and I signed up to a bunch of dating apps. This is when I started meeting a bunch of guys online. And it was much easier to speak to them through there than in person. So one day I get a message from this really cute guy. He asked me for my Instagram and we started messaging each other through there. His profile was full of pictures of him traveling with his dog and his family. He had a Range Rover and even said he was a doctor. Like literally my dream man. After a few weeks, I was completely head over heels in love. And he told me he felt the same way. But we had never even had a phone conversation. That's when I asked him if we could talk on the phone. He told me he was in surgeries all day, so we would have to reschedule. I believed it. He then ghosted me for a full week. When he came back, he apologized and said he's been really busy. So I decided to call him. And you won't believe what happened next. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how I got catfished for 3 years. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. So like I said in part 1, he ghosted me for a full week. When he came back, he said he was just busy. So I called him. And a man with a strange accent answered on the other side. He told me that my boyfriend left his phone in the bathroom and that he happened to find it. And I believed it. A few hours later, I get a message from my online boyfriend saying that he's sorry he missed my call. He said he was really busy for the rest of the week, so he wouldn't be able to talk on the phone. I was so in love that I just believed everything he said. Which I know is so stupid. After that, we just messaged each other through WhatsApp for months. Then I asked him to send me some pictures. And he basically sent me screenshots of his Instagram pictures. So I asked him to send me a selfie. Obviously, I wasn't suspecting anything, but I just wanted to see his face. So he sent me a really bad quality picture and I couldn't really even make out the face. That's when he said the camera on his phone wasn't working, which is why he sent me screenshots of Instagram. Again, I believed it. A few days later, he asked me for money, and when I asked him why, he said he was short on funds. So I sent him $3,000. Then he sent a really angry message saying I should have sent more. Part 3 is up. Part 3 of how I got catfished for 3 years. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It's sent to me on Instagram. So I sent him $3,000. A few hours later, I get an angry message from him saying that I should have sent more money. He even called me the B word. I was super heartbroken because I couldn't believe he was talking to me like that. So like an idiot, I apologized and sent $2,000 more. So in total, I'd given him $5,000. I asked him again what he needed the money for, and he said that his money was tied up in investments. A few days later, he apologized and told me the money came through. Before I knew it, almost 3 years had passed. He kept using COVID as an excuse not to be able to travel to see me. And yes, he did ask me for more money, so in total I had sent him about $20,000. A month ago, I told him that for my birthday, I wanted to go see him. That's when he sent me a message saying that I was too much and he couldn't handle the relationship anymore. I called him again and the same weird voice answered. That's when he told me that he had been lying to me this whole time, and he was actually a 70-year-old French man. Told me to leave him alone and hung up. I'm totally heartbroken, and I have no way of getting that money back. What should I do?
As much as it pains me to say this, before my daughter turned 17, I didn't feel any love for her. I didn't even like her, really. She certainly thought I did, but on the inside, I just couldn't feel anything but annoyance towards her. She was very manipulative and needed constant attention. I know that this is a common feeling in parents, but I feel so ashamed to actually say it out loud. Two particularly traumatic instances for me were one, where I was going through an extremely tough time and she wasn't there for me. She never gave me support or comfort that I needed, and there is no worse feeling than being betrayed by family. She was a teenager and old enough to know better. And two, there was a period when she was really pestering me to take her to a psychologist, and one time I caught her forcing herself to throw up. I didn't know what to do and felt completely helpless. She's 18 now and lots better. She almost never complains about anything and is always there when I need a shoulder to cry on. My two older children were visiting last night and we were discussing family memories. And while we were joking, I mentioned in passing to her, "You really fucked me up good." She asked what I meant and I told her about the two incidents I mentioned before. She got quiet and eventually said, I really needed your help back then and you just wouldn't. I told her that I needed her help too, but she came back with, "I'm your daughter." I told her, "Yes, and I'm your mother. What's your point?" She ended up going home with her older sister and she won't return any of my calls. Her older sister called and told me that I had really hurt her last night and that I needed to apologize. I personally don't feel like I owe my daughter anything. She abused me her whole life. Am I the asshole for not understanding?
R/relationships.
Ooh, those are always good.
My 23 female, his boyfriend 23 male of 3 years doesn't wash his hands after using the bathroom.
That's disgusting.
Is that normal?
No.
Yeah.
Fuck right off. That's disgusting.
Normal, yes. Fine, no.
I would say that probably is a normal thing. It's still gross. My boyfriend and I have been together for 3 years now. We have a great relationship. And on the whole, I'm very happy. This is just a minor issue that has been getting to me recently. We started living together in September, and I noticed that he doesn't always wash his hands after using the bathroom.
Disgusting.
At first, I assumed he was just forgotten. I mean, he is pretty forgetful, and so I would remind him. But as time passed, I started noticing that he wasn't forgetting it occasionally. He just wasn't doing it ever. We talked about it because it bothered me, and he said that it's fine. That he's never gotten sick, and that people are way too concerned with cleanliness.
Yeah, I agree.
What? When was this posted?
This is posted 6 years ago.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, in New York in about, March of 2020.
He's quite messy, and I knew that, but I really thought people generally just wash their hands after going to the bathroom.
They should. There are signs literally everywhere in public, in every public restroom ever.
I don't work there. It says employees must.
Yeah.
Patrons might not.
Also, he might not get sick a lot, but I do. And what about other people that come to our house? What about when he makes us food? Yuck.
Oh God.
Anyway, the more I remind him, the more it gets on his nerves, and he feels like I'm nagging and bitching all the time. But he just brushes it off like I'm being a silly neat freak. So my question is, am I the asshole? Do people not wash their hands as often as I think they do? Am I being obsessive, or is he just being unsanitary?
He's being unsanitary. This is fucking gross. I'm genuinely creeped out. Like, I always knew that there was people out there that didn't wash their hands after going to the bathroom. I knew that. But to, now I know it? Ugh.
I'm 28 and babysit on the weekends to make some extra cash. There's this one family that I should have phased out by now, but the kids are cute and I don't have another job, so it's easy money. My issue is, the mom is never home on time. She used to not give me return times, but I finally started asking as it made it impossible for me to get anything done on the weekends. I'd go babysit so she could have brunch, but she'd be gone from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. My whole day was gone. After that, she'd start giving me times but never stick to them. She wouldn't even call to tell me, she'd just stay out. On Saturday, I got to her house at 6 and she was supposed to be home by 9. I told her that she needed to be home on time because I had plans to go out with friends. I was even getting ready at their house after I put the kids to bed. She promised. Of course, 9 rolls around and she's not home. I call her, no response. Text, no response. Another hour. Still nothing. I was still calling and texting. Finally, it's midnight. By this point, my plans are long ruined, but I'm pissed and exhausted. I call her and leave a voicemail saying that if she's not home in the next hour, I'm considering the kids abandoned and calling the cops. I also texted her this. I try calling her 30 minutes later and it goes to voicemail on the second ring. I text her again and she leaves me on read. If she had reached out saying, "Hey, I'm staying out until X time," I would have stayed. I don't know any of her family nor the father of the kids, so I can't call them. I gave her a grace period of 15 minutes and tried calling again, and finally called the cops. The non-emergency line though. They showed up and I showed our agreement in text from earlier in the week confirming that she'd be home by 9. They tried contacting her, didn't answer. I was dismissed and they took the children to the police station. I go home and go to bed. I'm awoken at 3 a.m. by a frantic call. It's her. Where are the kids? Why am I not here? I told her that I followed through with my threat and to check the police station. She cursed me out and I hung up and went to bed. The next day, she sends me an essay saying the kid's father called and there's a DCF investigation launched against her. She called me every name under the sun, but I didn't think I was wrong until I spoke to a friend with kids. She said I should have waited it out and refused to ever sit for her again. She asked if her potentially losing her kids was worth me being petty. Am I the asshole for calling the police on my client?